Hey, so I'm going to share a string of multiple visions that I had since last night, probably the last 12 hours. And they're really detailed. God showed me a lot of things last night. So, March 17th, dream audible. I saw a man, I can't remember what it looked like, but I heard 4264. And that was at 10:33 p.m. Now, let's move on to the next one. Okay, this is the next one. Dream 3/17/26. I kept falling asleep. God showing me things, waking me up. I'd write it down. 10:50 p.m. So God showed me, was shown a list of things written on a black screen. It was on a phone, okay? One on top of one paragraph was listed and labeled CPT wedding. I couldn't read the other things listed, like a list of things to do, maybe. I don't know. Not sure what this means. Probably, I don't know. It was written in white letters and at the top of the on top of numerous listed things written. Then I looked up CPT as some sort of medical billing or coding, could also mean transporting abbreviation, okay? It was listed as a wedding as code for two people, maybe one person, or that person himself attending, okay, along with other things written underneath of it in white. CPT wedding. That's how the person listed it. And it was, you know, it was like chunks of like written things, short, like 2, 3, 4 words. And it was all stacked on top of each other, written. And that little chunk of paragraph was tucked in between other. So there was still one on the top, one on the bottom. But it was right smack dab in the middle of the screen, a black screen written in white. And the very top thing that God showed my attention to was, it said CPT wedding. So let's move on to the next one. All right, now this is kind of weird because my very first marriage I was in lasted maybe 12, 13 years. And I had my older daughter, Ayla, with him. Okay. And this was at 11:47 p.m., 3/17/26. Okay. So was shown a woman that this was at his business, okay? So I was shown a woman in the daytime standing in the entrance driveway at Frank's shop. That's my ex's name. She was looking down and a cat was at her feet. It was daylight, okay? She was talking to the cat, sort of smiling. The cat was on the right side of her as she faced the parking lot. She had shorts on and black flats. She also had a cap on and short dark hair, early to mid 50s, Caucasian. The hat was dark in color and it was a style that was military shaped. Then it turned night and I was shown a blonde guy in the parking lot. Then I saw a rat crawl down the side of the building. The end. Now, when God shows me things like this, it's like things that actually happen when I wasn't there. Like God's saying, you want to see that you don't believe that this is the truth? Let me show you in the distance that the woman, meaning me, that I'm showing these things to through the power of the Holy Spirit. Look, there's even a rat that crawled down the side of the building. How would anybody in their visual that wasn't looking for that know that happened? And that wasn't even there, right? So this is how God works with me. This is what God does. He says, well, you could have been driving by and saw that woman standing there. No, I wasn't. I was laying in bed. I've been at home. I've been doing things around my property. I've been way far away in another county. Okay. So people would say, well, you might have saw that woman standing there. No, I didn't. You might have saw that cat before. No, I didn't. It kind of surprised me in the dream that there was a cat right there, right? Because I've been there many times before and I never saw a cat wandering around. And I never saw a lady like that. I mean, I know there's other people that have shops there, but I know that people park in that parking lot to go to a brewery. That's not that far away. And how would I know there was a rat going tucked down really on the outside of a building, running down the side of the building. So there's right there. That's the power of God. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this happened early this morning as I was waking up. Visions, okay? 9:09 a.m., 3/18/26. So what I was shown was I was in a yard and I was looking over and there was a fence in the background. I saw this metal box and it was one of those kinds of box where you would open the flap. It's like kind of rectangular, a little rectangular, and you open the flap on the top. It's metal, it's old. It's like to put mail in, right? And it was laying in the grass. It was an object. I was shown as an object by itself. It stood alone, or laid alone, because it was sitting in the grass. And I saw this white flapping thing on it. All right. It did like some flapping on the side of the box. And then I was shown I was looking out of my yard beyond the chain link fence. And I was shown 4 Holstein baby cows standing lined up outside the chain link fence. And now they were all black and white. I just made notes. I didn't describe. But they were all the black and white type cows. They were calves, I should say. Baby calves. They were all in a line. Okay. They were snugged up to the metal chain link fence. And they were all facing towards, like, if I was to go towards Modesto, I would say, that direction. I'm not going to give exact, like, towns. Okay. So, number 1, they're not in my yard. Okay. We could be talking about humans here. Okay. What do baby calves do? They wander around, they graze, they eat grass, they play, they drink milk. Okay. They were all the same color, black and white, and they were all facing the same direction, which is not my house, all right? Because there's some people that want to sit there and they talk a bunch of garbage, all right? They were all out on the road, and you know what I think this means? I think this means they were all parked in different cars, but they were all together and they were all lined up. And they were all facing the same direction, which means they were a part of each other. They all looked alike. What does that mean? They're all doing the same thing. Okay. This is the symbol. This is how God taught me to sort out and know about dreams and visions. Okay. Baby cows. Calves. They all look the same. They have the same markings on them. They're all going the same direction, but they're all lined up like they're ready to take their turn. Do you understand the symbol, the scriptural symbolism? What God showed me. All right. Now, next I saw a living room with a couch that curved sharply on either end. It had a curve, but you know how those couches... okay, it was dark in color, and it looks like some of it might have been 2 sections placed together, or some of it like a sectional, but the edges of it curved around sharply, and it wasn't like a plush couch or anything like that. It had a higher back on it. And one thing I realized about this, it was in a living room, okay? And there was a bunch of clothing, just like clutter. And I saw a lot of color, because how I was viewing it was, because it had a really tall ceiling. It had one of those raised ceilings, okay? So I was up towards the ceiling, and I could look down and see the whole living room, all right? In what God was showing me, I could look down and see the whole living room. It had a really high ceiling. And there was a bunch of clutter all around it. They had a coffee table, okay? And what I really noticed is that there were a lot of spots of pink. There was like pink materials or items. A lot of it. Pink here, pink there. That's a color that stood out to me because I saw it in a really quick flash vision. Okay, a really quick like view of it, and then it disappeared. It's like someone didn't want me to see that, and they were like, no. It was really weird. And then after that, I was shown a green sign. Okay, now God has me outside. Okay, and I am looking, and to the right of me in my vision, I'm shown a sign, and it's on a metal stake, not one of those, not a pole. It's on like one of those stakes that go up really tall, and it's just a singular. Okay, and the way that the sign was like a triangle, but the triangle, it was rounded. Okay, the triangle was rounded, and it was more like in between. I kind of have a picture of it, okay? But it said the number, it was all green, forest green, and it had the numbers in white. It said 46. And it was not off like a main road. It wasn't like, off a highway. You were looking at a sign. It was in a neighborhood. And I was not moving in this vision. It was like I was just sitting there. But God showed me the number on this green sign, the number 46, written in white. And it was a triangle, but it was really rounded. And there was no state on the sign. Like when I went to go look this stuff up, to see if I could see and show you guys an example of what I saw in the vision, I couldn't find anything like it. It was almost like a sign that was off the map. Like it was either really old, no one, or people already knew what state they were in. They didn't have to see California 46, because that's what I was shown in pictures on when I went to go try to find an example of it. But this sign had no state on it. It just said 46. And it was off a beaten path. It was like off a main road. But there were still houses. It was still like, because you could turn right up ahead. But yeah. Okay, so let me try to show you an example of that. Okay, so it was kind of like this. I'm showing you images here. So it just had one singular stake, metal stake, with the sign like that. But it wasn't so diamond out like that. It was more rounded around the edges. Like more rounded, okay? And it said 46 written in white on that green. So if you could imagine that. And it was off a beaten, it wasn't on a main road. It wasn't like driving down a main road. Hold on a sec. And I was it was like stopping. There was no driving. God just showed me in the vision that I looked to my right, and there was that sign. Written in white, 46. There was no California on it. There was no state to it. Okay, next. So the next vision God showed me was a phone screen. All right. And I knew it was the screensaver of a phone. And it had a black background on it. And it was black. And it had disappearing color swirls. So it was animated. So what would happen was these swirls would kind of appear on the screen, like swirly, mixed together, and then it would really small, and then it would disappear. And that was the screensaver of the phone. So I was like, so as God was showing me this, I knew. I'm like, I'm looking at a screensaver. God's showing me a screensaver, and this is how it animates. So it would do like a swirly kind of little, intertwined colors, like 2 or 3 colors, and then it would just disappear. And then it would do that over again and over. That was the screensaver of the phone. And so anyway, I wanted to share this all with you, and encourage you today to, if you haven't prayed today, or got into your prayer closet, so to speak, and just pressed in and reached out to God, and prayed for your family, and prayed for yourself, and pray for people that are going through things in their life, turmoils in their life or struggles in their life, and remember those things. Remember to pray for people, because this world that we're living in, you guys, isn't that good. And I'm going to come back, and I'm going to make another video about Jehovah's Witnesses, Watchtower and Awake societies, all these religions that they go around saying they have the truth, but the truth is not in them. Okay. They're the people that are going to say, well, haven't I done all these things in your name? And God's going to say, get away from me. I never knew you. All right. And there's a reason why he's going to tell them that. And it's scriptural. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to prove it to you. God's going to say, get away from me. I never knew you. All right. Okay. Love you guys, and God bless you.